Well, I've always kind of been a multitasking kind of guy, and I'm a vertical guy. So, when I was young, I really loved basketball and sports, and so I wanted to do that. And I went to basketball camps, and then it kind of transitioned because I realized that I just didn't have the talent to be an athlete or the size to be an athlete. I read an article that said of technology, computers was going to be like the top growing sector. The second one would be uh, Western medicine, and then the third one was natural and organic products. And I circled that and said, that's what I want to do. So I hired great staff. I had scientists. I had, MBAs in finance, PhDs in biochemistry. So when there's a perfect storm, it's real easy for the crows to come and start pecking at the meat lying on the ground, and people recognize that. And we don't live in a nice world. I think everybody knows that. We live in a cruel world. And when you're a good guy, you're vulnerable. When you're out there helping people, you're more vulnerable than if you're not. Well, that's a really interesting question because I ask myself that question, a lot, right? Because you don't ever want to be in that position again. You want to be that vulnerable guy that cares about people and wants to take care of people and wants to do whatever he can to help people that are down. I want to be that guy.
I'm Dan Metcalfe. Thank you for tuning into the Born SuperHuman podcast. I'm so proud of the guests and stories that we bring to you, and I know that you'll enjoy what we have ahead. Please like, subscribe, and follow. It really makes a huge difference in our ability to continue these conversations being brought to you. And if you feel the passion behind Born SuperHuman, please share it with your friends and family and leave a comment. I read every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Hi, and welcome back to Born Superhuman. So today I have a most fascinating guest on that really is a must listen to podcast. And it's hard to describe because it's multiple different stages of life that have led to a brilliance today. And so with that being said, I urge you, listen to the whole podcast because you're going to be fascinated and intrigued at the beginning, the middle, and the continuation. With that being said, welcome, Dino Guglielmelli.
Hi, Dan. It's a real pleasure to be here. And wow, it's life is a journey, is it not? Yeah,
Fascinating. And we got to meet on the Empower Wellness Spa stage
we
where
did.
you stood up and gave so much invaluable information to health and wellness that I was like, I've got to have Dino on the podcast.
There
What?
was nobody more inspiring on that stage than you, Dan.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Seriously, you're an inspiring guy, and I can understand why you have people that tune into your show.
No, it's very kind of you to say. And so I want to go back because I always like to find out who is the child behind the person, because we all start from often places that we should never have been where we are now. So tell us about you as a young boy growing up.
Huh. I grew up in Walla Walla, Washington, an organic farm, a vegetable farm. I'm the last of eight children. Um, I had an amazing childhood. Uh, I grew up, farming, and I escaped in music. And so I started playing drums when I was 7 years old, and music really carried me through high school, got me a scholarship into college. I played in a lot of bands, and while I was still doing my career. But Walla Walla was a foundation of a really tight knit family. My parents were married for 76 years, lived in the house they built in 1950. It's a very Catholic family, went to church every Sunday. Everybody was at the dinner table at 7, 12, and 6 p.m. every day. You didn't miss it. But we were a tight knit group, and I played a lot of sports. I got to play outside, ride a bike. You didn't have to worry about locking your door, and we had a lot of animals as well. And so it was really about hard work. And my father used to say, "Good luck comes to those who work hard." So I grew up with work ethic, and to try to do, the right thing. But anyway, so and then music. My father is a drummer. He was a drummer. He died at 95 a few years ago, but he was a drummer. He played, all the standards. And so he put me on stage at a young age. And then he was the president of the Musicians Union. So I started playing drums with bands who would come through town who didn't have a drummer. At 14, 15, I was in bars. Owners of bars would come up and say, "What's that kid doing in here? He can't be in here." They'd say, "Well, he's our drummer." So they'd make me sit on the stage the whole night. I couldn't roam around. And then I went to Washington State University, which was close to Walla Walla in Washington. Got a scholarship for drums there, and then came down to LA with music in tow. And always really that was my goal.
What was your dream as a young boy, though? Was it rock star? Was there a favorite band like you idolized? I want to be on stage as that drummer. Who was your idol and what was your goal?
Well, I've always kind of been a multitasking kind of guy, and I'm a vertical guy. So, when I was young, I really loved basketball and sports, and so I wanted to do that. And I went to basketball camps, and then it kind of transitioned because I realized that I just didn't have the talent to be an athlete, or the size to be an athlete, the speed to be an athlete. So then I kind of ventured into music, um, and really that was pretty much what I focused on. And I thought that I would be, in music. When I got to LA, I sang on backgrounds with Quiet Riot, and I was in the studio doing a bunch of studio work, and then the drum machine hit, and I had to reinvent myself. And I went and took accounting classes, and then I went to Accountants Overload to see if I could do a bookkeeping job or an accounting job. And they gave me a test, and then they pulled me into an office. They said, "Are you an accountant?" I said, "No." They said, "Do you have an accounting degree?" I said, "No." "Are you a CPA?" "No." The guy says, "Well, you scored highest of anyone that's taken this test in the last 18 months. Do you have any experience at accounting?" I'm like, "A little bit." He's like, "Well, you can be a CFO." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "I'm going to send you on a job." He sent me to a job. And then, so from that job, I finished bringing a guy's tax return up to date and his financials up to date. He had a P&L on the balance sheet, brought that to him. It took me about 90 days to do that for him. And then he said, "Hey, you see that over there?" And it was a big lump of metal in an office. And he said, "This is a trash compactor for airplanes." He says, "You think you can write the financials for the business plan for this?" And I'm like, "Sure." I didn't know what I was doing. About 18 months later, we raised in total 6.5 million of venture capital, and I was 25 years old. And so that's really what started my business career, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the numbers. I enjoyed the stress of having to deal with employees and customers and delivering on time and margin analysis and supply chain issues, and it just became who I am. And I realized I was really good at it. And so I was in that trash compactor business for about 6 years until 31. And then I started a natural products company. It was called Creations Garden. I was very successful making supplements. I made supplements for big box, from Walgreens to CVS to Dwayne Reed, network marketing companies, companies all over the world, athletes, trainers, and had 400 employees, did over 50 million in sales, 185,000 square feet of manufacturing, drug manufacturing licenses, 510Ks, people who understand the industry, full GMP analysis. And I did that for 20 years. And then I hit a brick wall when I was egregiously prosecuted. But that's kind of my story of my business and creative life. I never stopped playing music during that whole process.
Let me go back a little bit because I wanted you to finish up because it's just this, wave of experience. And we know in business, and maybe this is part of the reason why you were so financially successful, as well as helping so many people, was you have to know your numbers. But how did you go from being a CFO to then having this brain to formulate supplements and be hired by massive companies to create their lines for them. Where did that knowledge come from?
It's kind of like when you ask a musician who has a number one song, where did that song come from? And they go, well, I sat down at the guitar, or I sat down at the piano, and the words just started coming out. And 15 minutes later, I had a song.
But the knowledge into the supplement world and the impact effect on the body that we both work in now, going from numbers to that, what got you interested? Because I know there was obviously a huge health increase, especially in California, you're living out here, where supplementation support for bodybuilders, for health, for fitness was at super high, probably the highest it's been back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000, early
Yeah.
2000. How did you get the knowledge? What was it that drew you or drove you really into that field to say, I'm going to study this, I want to know this, and become one of the top formulators in the world?
Well, after the trash compactor business was sold to a bigger fish, I had to do something with my life. And I was reading an article when I came back from New York. I was actually in New York on a Suitor tour at the time. And I read an article that said of technology, computers was going to be like the top growing sector. The second one would be Western medicine. And then the third one was natural and organic products. And I circled that and said, that's what I want to do. The third, because I'm all thumbs when it comes to computers and that stuff. And I don't take drugs. My parents never took a drug and lived to be 95. My dad died in his sleep. They just didn't. My mom's 97 today and she doesn't. And so I don't have that in my DNA to do. So I never have. I never vaccinated my children. I don't do jabs. I just don't. I believe in trying to self-regulate and try to stay as natural as you can. Drink a lot of water. It's free. Exercise. It's free. To not drink is free. Alcohol and So that's kind of my personality, and so it was just a natural thing for me to do. So what I did was I took my manufacturing knowledge from the trash compactor business, because putting a trash compactor in airplanes is not easy. And so when you're in the financial side of a business, you learn everything about the business. When you're in the production side of the business, you pretty much stay in the production side. When you're in purchasing, you pretty much stay in purchasing. But when you're on the financial side, you have to understand purchasing. You have to understand laborers. You have to understand production. You have to understand margins. You have to understand where your costs are, where your supply sides are. So all of those things run across the desk of somebody who's in the financial position. And so from that, you meet with the engineers from, development. So I just got that knowledge, and I'm a sponge. I don't need to be told things twice. I pretty much get it. And so through the process, and so, I made this analogy that when, these people that get number one songs, they say the piano comes to them. It doesn't come to them because they just sat at the piano one time. It comes to them because they sat at the piano for copious amounts of hours, or they sat at the guitar for copious amounts of hours and allowed themselves the ability to have that experience. There is no substitute for experience. Mm-hmm. And I work really, really hard. And the one thing that I learned from my father, whether it's good or bad, is nobody outworks me.
Mm. Now, it's a beautiful trade to have as a pass down from your father. You already said that he was a hard worker, super hard worker, and I'm in full agreement. Good.
And then somebody said to me yesterday, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but somebody said to me yesterday, I don't know anybody that delegates better than him. So I hire great staff. I had scientists. I had, MBAs in finance, PhDs in biochemistry that all worked for me. I had my head of QA was from Pfizer. I had top-notch people working at my company, and they're still working in this industry today, and they're very good at what they do. But they learned it all working for me or with me, really, because nobody really works for me. Everybody works with me.
Mm.
or they don't work for me, you know? So it's always a two-way street, and I'm always available. My door is always open. I don't have this, oh, I'm untouchable kind of attitude. I do the trenches with everybody else.
Yeah, no, they always say the best businessmen always say surround yourself with people smarter than you, but know how
Yep.
to put them all together. And
Yep.
you can work on the ship, you can steer the ship, or you can own the ship. And it sounds like you had the best crew. So
The
here,
other thing is to know going into the game, the cash is king.
Hmm.
It just is.
Yeah,
If you can't manage cash, you can't be an entrepreneur. Can't start a business from scratch. That's for sure. You
yeah,
really need to know how to manage cash.
yeah, I learned that the hard way, unfortunately. But when you learn it, you can come back and do better the next time
That
around.
that's right, because then it just becomes a number, right? It's
Yeah,
not emotional. That's the one thing about finance is it doesn't have in business. It has no conscience. Finance has no conscience. It just the numbers are what they are, and you either regurgitate crap or you regurgitate truth. It's one or the other. And
no,
as long as you're in the period of truth, then the numbers don't lie.
no, for sure. So here you are, a multimillionaire that I'm just going to throw out there because of the success you had. And then your life took a big change. You met your ex-wife, former wife, Monica. And that, I would imagine, she was a model, correct?
Well, she wanted to think that she was a model. She told everybody she's a model, but she never modeled when I knew her, or I don't know of any time actually that she was an actual paid model.
But obviously you were attracted to her early on. And
Sure, I was.
and pretty quickly you guys got married, correct?
Yeah, it didn't take long. It was kind of um, um, there was circumstances that led me down that path to do it probably sooner than I normally would have.
Mm.
But all in all, I made the decision to do that, and yeah, I think we were engaged 6 months after we met. Married him, a year later.
And then you had how many children?
Two, I had two children with her,
Okay.
and I had two that I'd had prior to that marriage.
Okay. So now here you are, very successful in business, living a life that I'm sure you are passionate about because you committed so much time. You can't work hard at something you're not passionate about. It's going to burn out. You were thriving, and then your life took a major change. Take us into
It sure did.
yeah.
Yeah. It started when I lost my biggest customer and no one believed me. Everyone's, oh, he's lying because I was in divorce court. Then you lose 50% of your revenue, and everybody goes, no, he didn't. And they actually throw more gas on the fire. So it was kind of the perfect storm that happened in my life. But it was ultimately people who wanted it and decided they could just come and take it.
To explain that a little bit deeper. What do you mean people wanted it and they were going to take it from you?
So when when there's when there's a perfect storm, it's real easy for the crows to come and start pecking at the meat lying on the ground, and people recognize that. And we don't live in a nice world. I think everybody knows that we live in a cruel world. And when you're a good guy, you're vulnerable. When you're out there helping people, you're more vulnerable than if you're not. You know, I like helping people. I don't want to change that aspect of me. I want to believe in people and what they say to be true. I don't want to change that about me, even though I probably should. It's some of the things about me that I like, is the fact that I take people at face value. I do what they ask me to do. And, sometimes you suffer the consequences for that. And I've done that a lot. But it's part of my personality. I don't want to change.
So is that something that, because it's say we see in other people ourselves. I had this with a Russian business partner that told me, Dan, you're too nice and too honest. And I was like, oh, that's great. My mum would love that. Only to find out that he was a con man and tried to take me down and literally took me down. And I never saw it coming because we weren't looking for it. Do you feel that you were in the same boat there?
I was in that boat with multiple people, and they all kind of gathered together. They coagulated uh, on that vote to really go against me, because I guess they felt like that was the winning side.
So let's break this down even further. So this started when you decided that you and Monica were going to get divorced, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then that process went from divorce to then the financial side, what the settlement's going to be. And then people saw an opportunity to make more off of you than you had, and then decided to plot against you. Is that pretty much correct?
Yeah, in broad strokes, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
And so now I know we've had a conversation before, and I haven't done too much research because I love to come in and ask questions because I'm curious because I don't know. Tell me what happened, because I know this led to you coming up against charges by the authorities.
Yeah. So basically, I filed in 2011, and she attacked me in 2012. We were cohabitating because nobody wanted to leave the house, children, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I had a casitas and big house. So she was in the main house. I was in the casitas. And she attacked me one time in 2012. She got arrested. Uh, I got custody of our two children, and we were living in the house. She was represented by a high level defense attorney, a very expensive one. You'd know his name if I said it. And then, of course, the DA was supposedly representing me because she got arrested. And the DA dropped the charges after 9 months. I continued to have custody, and at the time it was full custody, visitation only, because I had gotten an RO. And then I went to. Then she came after me as soon as they dropped the charges, which was 9 months later. She went to court to get her alimony and child support increased. I ended up settling an amount that was ridiculous at $55,000 a month, which I couldn't afford. About a month later, I lost my biggest account, which was 25% of my revenue, which was a major blow. And then I went, so in the criminal court, those charges against her were dropped by the DA. Then I go into civil court in 2013. So 12, 11, 12 went all the way through. 55,000 was incurred on me in November of 12. In 13, I went into civil court because then at that point I couldn't afford any attorney. So now I'm going pro per. I go in March in the civil court on her attack of me, and they find her guilty on a 6203. But they give her custody back.
What's the
They don't
6203?
arrest her. 6203 is a bodily injury and intent to harm,
Okay.
or a bodily injury. There's exact terms for it. Domestic violence, basically.
Sure.
And I don't remember exact terms, but it's to injure, bodily injury, domestic violence. And she was found guilty, but they didn't change. They actually gave her the right. So then in that same hearing, I was going, Your Honor, I need to lower the child. I can't pay 55. I can't afford it. And of course they said, no, you have to come back again. Of course, then they say I'm lying. I have millions of dollars stashed everywhere. I'm the one that's the bad guy that's attacking her. I've done it in the past. I've hidden money in the past, which is all untrue. And I went through 2 forensic accountants. They never found anything that was illegal. They never found anything that was illegal. I've never done anything outside the box financially. Never would. It's not my style. Plus, you can't get away with it anyway, right? Who would be dumb enough? But besides that, it's just not the right thing to do. It's not the ethical. I never did. I didn't even take anything out of my house when I had full custody of it. Everything was there when I got cuffed. I don't know what happened to it after I got cuffed. My whole life was completely dismantled within about 3 months after my arrest. But anyway, so in March, I go in, and then she changes attorneys they start plotting to come after me. And this guy frauded me out, just like what happened to you. I'm his best friend. I'm his savior. He has this huge military deal that he's been working on for years and years and years and years. It's signed by Condoleezza Rice, uh, Dempsey's. I mean, there's all these people in the military that are involved. This guy literally made everything up. I had no idea. I had no idea it was fraud until we're in a second bail hearing in December of 2013 after my arrest, when he admits on the stand, oh, it's all lies. I made it all up. I almost fell in my chair, literally. But they all knew. And I found that out not until very much later. I didn't get a divorce until 2022. So from 2011 to 2022, Pac-Man was played on my life. Everything that I had worked my entire career for was taken from me with no regard for anything, not for my children, uh, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But anyway, so then the bank came after me in June because they knew I couldn't pay the 55. I didn't have the income to do it. I was coming back. So in the prior year, I'd done almost 50 million in sales. I was going to hit another 50. I would have done it, but the margins weren't there because I was capturing business with lower margins. So basically, then this guy who frauded me out goes into a deposition, and I'm telling you information. I mean, this is a lot of information, but so the bank comes after me in June. In July, now they've taken over receivables and payables. So now I don't even have access to my own money anymore. But everyone's claiming that I have millions stashed everywhere, that I'm this dangerous guy. So this fraudster goes into a deposition in August and says, Dino would never hurt anyone. He would never hurt his wife. He would never hurt anyone. And, I have this military deal and it's all real and blah, 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 blah. Well, they all knew. They all knew everything that was going on. The only guy that didn't know was me, right? And I'm reading this deposition going, okay, everything's cool, right? Then we go to this lunch and he goes, he asked me questions and I can't really talk much about that.
Mm.
Although he had he was recording and he recorded me and 2 days later I'm in cuffs. And I had no idea why I'm in cuffs, what I'm in cuffs for. And then I find out that they're saying I solicited him for murder. Well, listen to the tape. It's an hour and a half lunch. There's never a solicitation in there. Never where I said, hey, you're going to do that. He just kept bringing it up, bringing it up, and bringing it up. And, I, it's just bad. But it was all staged. Everything was staged.
So now you've been arrested. You're in cuffs. You're now under trial for trying to entice murder, right? Trying to get someone to come in and murder, which I understand, as you said, you never said it, but they take snippets, and we see that these days as well on the news. BBC just got busted for, swapping around Trump's speech to try and entice a reaction. So now you're in court. They find you, or your attorney tells you to take a plea deal, correct?
So my attorney, I did 3 bail hearings, and on the third bail hearing, there was no bail on the first 2. The prosecution side went on the stand, completely perjured themselves, which I can't even believe this happens. There's enough crimes committed every day that are real crimes to go prosecute. You don't have to go and perjure yourself to try to, but they did because they felt like my prosecution was that important for their careers and their livelihoods or whatever it was that they were benefiting from that. So 2 bail hearings, no bail, even though nothing happened. But they were saying that they had recordings of me saying I was going to flee and I had millions of dollars. I mean, they literally said they saw millions of dollars of wire transfers going out of my accounts. Never happened. They don't have them because it never happened. And in 2022, I finally got the judge on a minute order, the final minute order of my divorce trial said, this guy didn't have any money. He doesn't have any. It took 11 years for me to finally get a judge to say, He didn't have an ability to pay 50. He didn't have it. It wasn't real.
Mm.
But yet they continued that. And I mean, listen to 48 Hour. I'm on 48 Hours. There's a show on my case in 48 Hours. They actually go on 48 Hours and say they saw wire transfers. They didn't exist. So what happened was, this was their narrative to then get no bail, because they kept saying, oh, he's going to flee. We have recordings of him saying he's going to flee. I would never have left my kids. I would never have left my business. My kids put letters out saying that. My employees put letters out saying that. My bandmates put letters out saying that. But because they started this narrative that continued from the past, that was unjustified and undocumented, and they just ran with it, and the media ran with it, and everybody ran with it without a single ounce of proof. And that's the reason why my bail was denied. So on the third bail hearing, the judge says, well, since they're really, I set the bail at 10 million. 10 million, that's like no bail. I don't have the money. I didn't have the money to put down. So I end up in jail. I stay in jail. We tried to move it out of that jurisdiction. Of course, they wouldn't let us move out of that courthouse. And I was in San Fernando court. Meanwhile, I don't have any money. And the company's bankrupt. The company's actually bankrupt, but gone into bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. But yet they're still saying I'm going to flee and I have millions. Well, the only income I had was a business that I no longer have. How could that be? It's not possible. It's just so asinine. But so then I don't see my attorney. I don't see the people that have taken over my business. Everybody just disappears. And I'm stuck in cells, being moved around from cell to cell to cell. I'm in a cell with no phone. I can't contact anybody. I'm in a cell with no running water. I mean, I'm in a pressure cooker, because I've gone from one gated community. I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. So I have a completely clean record. And there's a POD from the original investigator who wrote to the court saying, this guy shouldn't do time. You should, go ahead and give him an ankle monitor or take his passport. But he's got a big business. He's got a family. He's never committed a crime. He's a community guy. And yet that was all ignored. It's completely ignored, because they had a different narrative that they wanted to spew, and everyone wanted that narrative for their own benefit. So he kept telling me, I'm going to get you out. I have everything. I've got all the data. It's lies, it's fraud. All these people are, there's no basis for you to have to do this. We're going to go to trial. We're going to win. Just take your time. I don't even see the guy. I don't see my defense attorney for months. Now I keep thinking, oh, it's because they keep moving me, can't find me. So 3 weeks before the trial, he calls my parents and says, hey, you have to convince Dino to plea or he's going to do life. I'm like, I call my parents and they're like, you have to plea. I go, what are you talking about? They're like, well, Anthony called us. Your attorney called us and he said, you're going to do life if you don't plea. And they're bawling their eyes out. My mom's like, if you go to trial, he's telling us, the media is going to be in our backyard. They're already following Dad around in a golf cart. They take pictures of us when we're coming out of the church. They're in our backyard right now, filming through the back window. Dino, plea. I'm like, no, Mom. No. I didn't do anything. I'm not going to plea. So I don't see Anthony like 3 weeks prior to trial. I don't see him. I see him the day. He says, what did you decide to do? I said, no contest. He goes, okay. So I go and I plead no contest. There was no hitman. There was no model. That's all made up. That's all just media making up to fit the narrative so that there's a crime. If you don't have those elements, you don't have a story that people will listen to. And if you don't have a hitman, you don't have a crime. So you have to have a hitman and you have to have a model so people will watch a show. And of course, you have to have a villain. So you have a millionaire that's a villain. I mean, it's, it's great. It's a great story, but it's all fabricated. So I end up, in an environment that I don't know anything about.
Well, hang on. Before we go there, you're sitting in court.
Yeah.
You plead no contest,
Mm-hmm.
which then gives the judge the opportunity to make a decision, correct? He's going to do. What were you thinking at that point? What was your expectation when you told your attorney, I'm going to plead no contest? What were you expecting? And then take us through the moment that really changed everything.
Well, I was kind of expecting that it was going to be a 3-6-9, right? Because I was told the elements of it are a 3 year, 6 year, or a 9 year. So I'm expecting, you're going to do some time and you're going to have good time credits because you've already done time. So maybe I got a year or something, and I'll take the hit for my parents because my parents, everything to me. And I'll take the hit and this will be over with and they won't have to go through the burden because that's really the only thing I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about, oh gosh, I can't file a habeas corpus after 90 days or I'm going to do more time. I can't appeal it unless I appeal it within 90 days. I don't know any of this. I don't know. Like all I'm in is a survival mode. Like I'm in the worst jail in the United States, in LA County Jail, arguably the worst jail. I've never been incarcerated before. So all I'm trying to do is stay alive. That's every day. It's just a survival mode for me. I can't think about anything else. I'm finding out that my business is done, that it's been liquidated. I'm finding all this stuff out. My life has been completely destroyed. My 2 little girls that I love with all my heart, and I want to be with them every single day. I have no communication with. I just want to be with my kids. I want to be with my family, and I want to figure out how I can navigate this. And there's got to be somebody out there that's got a voice for me that's going to go, hold it a second. Stop the press. It's all fabricated. This guy should not, do time. He's already lost his life, right? That's what I'm thinking. Instead, I get hit with 9 years.
What was it like at the moment the judge said 9 years?
I was speechless. I'm still speechless when I think about it. I mean, I see stuff every day about people getting 2 years and they committed murder. The guy, sexual abuse, and he does 6 months. She didn't even get her nails done. There was no hitman. There was no plot. There was no money exchanged. I remember my defense attorney going to the judge, and everybody laughed. What was this, Your Honor? Murder on by credit? And everybody in the courtroom laughed, except me, because I'm going, why is this funny? Anyway, so it's almost the same feeling I had. It was so surreal when he said that is the day that I was released from prison. They were both the most surreal moments. It's like I'm another person. I'm outside of my body. I'm no longer that person I thought I was. I literally had to figure out who I was and how I was going to get through it. It was almost like my life completely changed in that moment. I was no longer Dino Guglielmelli, the man that I thought I knew. I was a different guy. Mm. And it was the same thing after I was released. And I looked up at the moon, a full moon. It was pitch black out. I see the fence. It'd been 6 years straight that I'd been down. And I'm like, what was that all about? What did that accomplish? Besides me starting a music program, getting people their GEDs, getting 3 college degrees, including my master's degree, writing 12 books, writing copious amounts of songs, getting people off of drugs, getting people to stop fighting through music, getting the warden to give me a music program where I was teaching people music theory, teaching guys algebra, teaching them English and GED, getting a master's degree. It was a huge accomplishment in prison. I accomplished a tremendous amount, and I gave a lot of people a lot of inspiration. And, but yeah, I mean, your life changes in those moments. You're not the same person. And I wasn't.
Do you think that experience, and obviously so many people won't understand what it's like going from a world of freedom into literally a cage where you're somebody else's beck and call literally all day and night if they want to move. They can't control your mind, but they certainly can control your physicality. How close are you back now to the Dino pre-jail then? Because you can't let go of everything, or can you?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I ask myself that question, a lot, right? Because you don't ever want to be in that position again. You want to be that vulnerable guy that cares about people and wants to take care of people and wants to do whatever he can to help people that are down. I want to be that guy. I just don't want a Furman to walk into my life and take advantage of that to the degree that a fraudster can. So am I a different guy? Yeah. But I think I'm a better guy. I think I was a good guy then. I was probably less empathic. And I think that's the one thing that prison does for you, and being incarcerated and losing everything is you learn some empathy. And if you don't, you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that would be the upside for me. I don't know that I'll ever, I'm not never going to be that guy again. At least that guy that I was before my incarceration. I don't want to ever be that guy that was incarcerated ever again. I'm back. I have a nice manufacturing facility. I have great customers, great relationships with my customers. When I got out, it's interesting. I always had a lot of confidence in myself. When you're a guy who creates and starts businesses from scratch, which I've done several times in my life now, successful businesses, and I made a lot of millionaires in this process of starting things from scratch, which people don't really acknowledge, but I do. And so I'm very, very proud of that. But when I got out, within a month, I had a job, and people were like, let's put you to work. Now, those are angels, right? I mean, not everybody wants a felon working for them. Not everybody looks at it favorably because there's a lot of judgmental people and there's stigmas associated with being a felon. And I accept that, even though it's very unfair to judge me without knowing me as a person and knowing the history behind it. I've only seen that a couple times. So we do live in a society that is empathic and is forgiving for the most part. And we live in a society that really is genuinely cares. It's just that we are very, very vulnerable to the other side of it, which is very strong, very powerful, and it's a 50-50 chance. That's the sad part. It really is a 50-50 chance that the person's going to come in here today is going to be the guy that wants to fraud you tomorrow.
Mm.
So from that standpoint, I am changed. I spent 6 years with LWOPs. These guys, multiple murders, lifers without parole. I was in with serious criminals. And the one thing they told me was I was sitting in my bunk. Of course, I spent a lot of time on the bunk, right? And this guy he'd been down for 36 years he was a dirty cop, and he ended up shooting somebody on a bad drug deal, and we played chess, and he was the right hand to the shot caller, who I became very, very close to, and actually helped him a lot. in improving his life, and he will get paroled because I believe because of the experience he learned from being with me. But he said to me, he goes, I've been down 36 and, I've been through a lot. He goes, I've never seen anybody as adaptable as you. And it was the biggest compliment I could have gotten from an LWOP. He's like, I can't believe how you can adapt to this without any experience in a criminal activity, because they all knew my history. You learn everybody's history very, very fast.
I just want to clarify something here, Dino. LWOP is life without possibility of parole, correct?
Correct.
Life without parole. And
Correct.
then incredible experiences. And I've been very fortunate enough to live through some incredible experiences that people wouldn't believe that I had gone through. But how were you the first night that you're now incarcerated with these, murderers? What were you thinking? Because that for me is fascinating. On your life's on the line. What were they thinking of you? Because we hear all the stories of jail, and yet you thrive.
There's so many experiences within the first 3 or 4 months that would turn the head on your shoulders if I really got into the details. So the first day, I ended up at Supermax in Wayside, and I walked up to the dorm that they had put me in, the Supermax dorm, and reached for the door to open it. The guys inside, the prisoners inside, they're pointing at me and laughing. And the CO, the correction officer, comes up to me. He says, "First time?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I could tell. You need one of these to get in this place. You know that, right?" And he holds up the key. He goes, "I could tell that you're your first time. You don't just open doors around here." He puts the key in, opens the door. Of course, then all the inmates come to me. "First time?" "Yeah." So I was 52. They put me in the center of the dorm on the top. It was a 3-tier bunk. I'm on the top. And I went up there, and I thought I was in a different world. I could have been dropped on the moon at that moment. I had no idea what I was getting into. And you want to hear the story?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so so it's very segregated in jail. Segregation is a big deal. That's how inmates patrol themselves. That's how everybody stays in their lane. So the blacks stay with the blacks, the northerners stay with the northerners, Mexicans, southern Mexicans stay with southerners, and they are with the whites, which are called woods. Asians stay with the blacks, northerners pretty much stay by themselves. And those are the groups and their cliques, and you stay in them and you identify with one. And the reason you do is if there's a riot, you fight for that group and you have to fight. That's why everybody in jail keeps their shoes on. So jail versus prison is a very big thing to understand. So I'm in jail. Prison is a long-term situation. Food's better. It's a little more controlled. Jail is constant turmoil, constant moving, constant bus rides, constant court dates, it's constant noise, constant lights. There's people coming in and out of the cell at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 5 a.m, 11 a.m, and it's constant, pulled out, pulled in, pulled out. So anyway, I get there. And segregation is more in jail than it is in prison, even though it's still the same in prison. You still have the cliques and you have to run with those cliques. So, and people don't understand that, but that's how it's controlled and that's how it's maintained. So blacks have their own tables. They have their own food in jail. They have their own toilets. They have their own showers. They have their own stuff. And then the southerners and the whites and the northerners, they have all their stuff. And you don't touch the blacks or the Asian stuff. You stay away from it. And these are the rules. And they're telling me these rules. And I'm going, are you kidding me? Where I'm from, we all sit on the same toilet seat. It's like, not here, and don't do it. So I'm on the top tier and there's a TV on and it's It's The Walking Dead. And at the time, Walking Dead was big. And L'Oreal, my daughter, and I used to watch it every day, or every time a new one would come out. It was our thing. And so I just started bawling as I'm watching it and going, I wonder if she's watching this right now. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to put yourself into that place that's any place other than there. You're just trying to find any reason to try to grab onto what you love and where you were and where your stability is and where your love and your comfort zone is. And so I'm doing that. And then I pass out and I wake up and I have to go to the bathroom. So I go and I sit on the toilet, do my thing. And I go back on the bunk. I'm sitting there and the head white guy who's kind of, controls the whites. There's always one person that's kind of the senior member of the group. Comes up, he goes, dude, you remember what I told you last night? I'm like, what? He's like, about the toilet. I'm like, oh no. Now this is my first day. Okay. And I turn around and there's, I don't know, 15, 20 black guys. And they've all been working out. And they're all just staring at me. I'm like, oh no. Now what happens? I'm thinking I'm going to get stabbed. There's going to be a riot. He goes, because you're an OG, an old guy, and they know this is your first day, they're giving you a pass, but you have to do 131 burpees right now. I go, what's a burpee? He goes, have you ever done a burpee? I go, I can't burp 131 times. What are you talking about, bro? He's like, a burpee. You do a push up and then you go up, you do a sun salutation, you go in. You ever done that? I go, no. He goes, oh man, you're in trouble. You have to do 131 of them right now. I'm like, okay, bring it on. He goes, I'm going to do them with you because you need to get this done. Otherwise, this thing it's going to be bad. Okay, so I go up. They're all sitting there watching me. And we get to 120 and he taps out. He can't go anymore. I get 131 and I'm still going. I'm 52 years old. I've never done a burpee in my life. Doing 131 burpees is not easy. I don't know. It's like 131 push-ups, right? Without stopping. And I got done and they came up and shook my hand and, oh, wow, dude, I can't believe you did that, right? And everyone's like, dude, thank God for doing that. And I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I have my first notch on my belt. I made it through my first 3 hours, but that's kind of what it was like the whole time. So you're outside of your body, and you try to be as much as you possibly can. That's why so many guys turn into drugs when they get into prison, and there's tons of drugs there, and they fall into that because, especially LWOPs. I mean, imagine you don't know if you're ever going to get out. What do you care? But or get into a fight, or go after somebody else. What's give you another 100 years? And then, of course, I'm in cells where the cells of complete have excrement, this much excrement on the floor, on the walls, and I had to clean it all. And you go to a CO, can I get some gloves and some sanitizing liquid to clean this? And, you get the F off, right? Well, what do you mean? I can't stay in here. And then, of course, you'll have an inmate that'll give you a rag and a pair of gloves and some soap and sitting there cleaning it with your shirt and washing it out in the toilet with all this old dried poop on the whole floor. The experience is, I don't know how you could possibly prepare yourself for that. And to be in that moment, you can't be in that moment and survive. You have to be outside of that moment somehow. And so that's why I wrote a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I wrote 12 books while I was down. They're phenomenal books. I wrote a lot of songs. I started the music program. Fender donated 12 guitars after the letters I sent them. Gretsch sent me a drum set. The drum doctor sent me equipment that I'd known forever. Rob was awesome. Rod, the owner of the drum doctor, he was awesome. Sent me a head that was signed by John Bonham. So, I'm showing the inmates kind of just this cred helps, but that was prison. So prison's different than jail, whereas jail is very hectic and everyone says you got to get out of here, get out of here as fast as you can. So that's part of the reason why I was ready to get to trial and get out of county and get to, whatever was going to happen, to have happen. But yeah, yeah, it's hard to do broad strokes on this because it's all about each experience is its own experience in
Sure.
a nutshell. Yeah.
How was your connection with your daughters during that time?
So my two kids from prior, I had, they came to visit me. My daughter came to visit me more than anyone, the whole time. My two youngest ones, they were listed on the RO when I got arrested on the restraining order with her, even though I had full custody of them the whole time until I was arrested. And there was no, and then they just took them away from me and said, oh, they're listed on the 10-year RO. So I haven't heard from them. When I got out, 2 months after I got out, I got a text from them saying that they loved me. They wanted to see me. They missed me. Could I go down and meet with them? And so I texted them back right away. Yes, I'm coming right now. I'm getting my car. They were at LA Live and I was in Santa Clarita. So it's an hour drive. I jumped in the car. I got halfway there, which was Burbank on the 5. And I get a text, you can't come. You have to contact our attorney. That's the last time I've heard from him. I went to county to try to get visitation and to get them off the RO. They had been moved out of the state, which I did not approve. I didn't know where they were. I found out they were in Texas. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that, which I was still their dad. They were born here. They went to school here. That is the requirements for them to not leave this state. Well, they're still in Texas. I have no way of getting a hold of them. I've tried, I've reached out, but I've been completely blocked from them. So it's been 12 years now.
And how old are they now?
21 and 20.
So theoretically, they're now adults. They can make that decision themselves.
That's correct. And I thought that they'd be reaching out, but there's reasons for everything. And I love them. I want to see them. I just want to know that they're okay. And I want to help them. I'm their dad. I'm a good dad. And I know they have good memories of me. And I know that they want to rekindle. I really believe that. But there's deterrents in the way that are keeping them from doing that. And, as you can see, I have pictures. These are the last pictures of them that I have. Can you see that right back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Vendel and Sienna. These are the last pictures I had of them at the time of my arrest. And I'd love some new ones together with them and rekindle that. I have no anger in my heart. I have no anger in me at all towards any of this. I just want to be successful. I want to be that guy that helps people, cares about people. I want to make great formulas, which I'm doing again for multiple people, multiple doctors, and manufacturing great products again. I'm GMP certified again. I have a great lab. I have a tremendous upside, but none of that matters without my children. At the end of the day, that's when I can finally say I've graduated and I'm back.
Back. Yeah, it's interesting because I want to go on to again how we first met was at the Health and Wellness Summit down with Empower Spa. And I had no idea of your story at that time just your brilliance and what you're doing. But before we get to that, and this is the last thing I'm going to ask, at what point did you know you're going to be released? Because you got 9, you were out after 6. After that, the night before, take me through the process. You found out you're going to be released. You're released, and what was it like walking out of that prison?
Can I kind of set this up a little bit?
Absolutely.
Do we have time? Okay. So I was told I would get a year off. I think it's Prop 57 or something. I don't remember the number, but there's a number where you get good time credits. And when I was down, that was passed in the state of California. So if you did education, you got good time credits. If you didn't get any disciplinary actions, 913s, I think they're called now. It's like it's stuff I don't want to remember, right?
Good, you don't know.
But anyway, disciplinary action. If you don't get any, then you can get good time and get time shaved off. So I got 3 college degrees, which got me a year off for each one. And so as I was getting the degrees, the dates was moving closer and closer and closer. So then I was supposed to get out in June of 2019, and they took some of my good time credits away and told me, no, you're not getting out until September 27th. So they actually delayed me getting out for like 4 months on technicalities that were just bogus. And in that time period, they actually wrote me up for Pruno and said that I had Pruno, which is prison-made wine. So in wine, they take fruit and they put it in a bag, and then they take jelly and ketchup and any sugar that they can find, and they throw it in there with this ground up fruit. And then they take a rotten fruit, which is the activator, throw it in the bag, tie it up, and then they squeeze that after a week, and it's lethal alcohol, but it's rot gut. And they make this. And so the cops said that I had Pruno in my locker and wrote me up. And I'm going to tell you the story. So there's like the shot caller tells 20 inmates, go tell the cops that it's yours. It's not Dino's. We know it's not his. I never did Pruno. I didn't do anything. I just want to get out. So this is not mine. I had a couple, there was many, many days because I was at Avenal. Avenal is built on a landfill. Avenal is across the hill from where Aaron Brockovich was filmed. So Valley fever is rampant there. And the water would be brown a lot. When we turn the faucet on, it'd be brown. So when it was clear, I filled up liter bottles and I stuck them in my locker. Well, they were saying that my liter bottles, and then they said it was Pruno. So they wrote me up. Well, if that would have gotten and stuck, all of my good time credits would have gone away. I would have done 3 more years. So I have to go to a hearing. So I go in the hearing into the lieutenant's office, and the F word happens a lot. Like COs talk worse than criminals do. I mean, as far as their, how many, bombs it's constant, right? So I walk in the LT's office, I sit down, he goes with the F bombs, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes, what's that? And I said, well, it's all my defense from all the inmates who, are saying it's not mine, it's theirs. I'd never done it, blah, blah, blah. He goes, give me that. I hand it to him. He throws it in the trash. I go, what are you doing? Then he holds up the form. He goes, I've been doing this for 26 years. I'm an LT. I've never been called by the warden and the captain to rip up a disciplinary notice. And I don't know anybody ever has. And he rips it up in front of me. He goes, get out of here. I never want to see your face again. And I go, same to you, LT. And I got up and I walked out. I get back to the house and the shot caller walks right up to me. His name's Johnny Orange, and I wrote a book about him, and it's a fabulous story. Anyway, and he says, what happened? I go, he ripped it up. He goes, he did what? I go, he ripped it up. He goes, they don't do that. I go, well, he did. And he said, the warden and the captain called him and said, get rid of it. I don't care how you do it. The guy's not guilty. Rip it up. And he told me that. He goes, keep it to yourself. I go, why? He goes, because you're going to get beat up. They're going to think you're a narc. They're going to think you're working for the cops. Nobody gets a disciplinary action, ripped up. So that's kind of what happened to me when I was down. Everybody knew I shouldn't have been there. Every single CO said, what are you doing here? I've watched the show. Totally bogus. You got set up, dude. I heard this for 6 years. 6 years flying. Everybody that came in contact with me said the same thing. And so people say that now, right? So it was the night before. I'm told 5 o'clock, they're going to call my name and I have to grab whatever I have. And so I've given away all my CDs. I've given away, all my books. And you only have a 6 by 2 foot locker, 6 feet by 2 foot, and all your stuff has to go in there. So literally I had a guitar on my back and a couple things that I wanted to keep, some of my books writing that I wasn't able to send out. And they call my name. And a lot of the inmates got up to hug me, tell me good luck. And I walked out. I go into what's called reception, R&R, receiving and release. And cop hands me some, takes my blues and says, what are you going to dress in? And I had some shorts and a T-shirt and put them on. I go into a holding cell and I put on skivvies. I'm sitting there, no cuff, no nothing, gates open. How am I different today than I was yesterday, right? Or 6 years ago, all of a sudden, and the guy walks in, he goes, come on, let's go. I walk out, no cuff, no ankle bracelet, no wrist. The whole time I'm in chain gang, right? I'm like, okay. They open a van door. I jump in the van. Van goes through the celly port of the 2 fences, the electrical fence. And I'm watching all this. And my only thought is, did we really have to do this? Did this really have to happen to me? I mean, seriously? Is this just a big joke? And so I get outside the fence closes, and we're driving along. It's pitch dark out, it's full moon. And I'm looking at the moon, and I'm feeling like I just came from the dark side of the moon. Literally, that I had been transported there for 6 years and then transported back. We pull into a parking lot. He opens the door. I step out. I have my guitar on my back. And he goes, do you have anybody to pick you up? I go, yeah, they're supposed to be here, but it's pitch dark out. And he goes, if they don't show up, I got to take you to the train station, because they give you an EBT card with $300 on it, I think, or $280. I don't even remember how much it was. $280, I think. He goes, I can't just let you go. I even have to take you to a train and see you get on it. I have to take you to a bus and see you get on it, or I have to see you get into a car and go away. But I can't just leave you here. And then all of a sudden, headlights turned on about 200 yards away from me. And I knew that was my kids. And then the car slowly ran toward, and then they stopped about 100 yards from me. And then my kids get out of the car and run, and I run, and then we're together. We go have breakfast. And all of a sudden I have to get a job. I was like, do we really have to go through that? I mean, nothing happened to anyone except my kids and me. Those are the victims here. Why? That could have all been aborted,
How amazing was that moment when you actually ran towards your kids? That moment.
There's really no way to explain it, but it's bittersweet. So it's not like, all sugar and honey, there's a bitterness to it too. Like, what's the point, right? So even though it's wonderful to be with my children, and so the hardest part was we get on the freeway and the cars are going so fast and they're coming towards each other so fast. I'm like, can you just slow down? And I look, and he's going 55 miles an hour. And the cars are coming on so fast because everybody's driving 70, right? But so that was the hardest part, is just getting used to the movement. That took me a while. That took almost a week. It took about 2 months for me to actually get my feet moving again, to where I felt like I was even part of society, because I really felt like I wasn't even part of this world anymore. Like I didn't fit in. I had no identity. I didn't know who I was or what I was going to do, what I was supposed to be doing with my life. I just knew that I had to get my feet moving because I had to pay the rent, and I had to make money somehow. And so I started writing business plans, and trying to figure out ways to make money. And then COVID hit, and I sold 29 truckloads of hand sanitizer to Kroger 6 months after getting out. It was like, how'd you do that? Like, I don't know. I've never had a relationship with Kroger, but just be at the right place at the right time, I guess, and know how to make a hand sanitizer, right? And so, boom, I'm making him truckloads of hand sanitizer like there's no tomorrow. And then I was selling packaging, and I did some other stuff in the COVID era. And then I was contacted or I actually so, all of this is happening. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out how to get together with my kids. So I got court dates. I'm going into court, pro per. I'm just getting slammed. My first court hearing, I'm told they have no jurisdiction. That I have to stop harassing them by bringing them to court to try to see my kids. I get sanctions $5,000, and I have to do community service and go pick trash up for like 80 hours. I'm like, what do you mean? I just got out of prison. Usually people do community service before they go to prison, as a warning, right? I don't know very many people that do community service after they've been to prison, right? And I'm on probation. So the probation officer's coming over to make sure that I'm, not doing anything stupid. It was a 3-year probation. They shut it down in 16 months or 14 months or something like that, because they realize, I'm not a threat. And then so I do and I find a phone number of somebody who the person who had introduced me to the person who actually did the recording. And when I told her who I was, she started crying and was very regretful that she had not contacted me and told me that he was a fraud, and that she had actually seen the victim and him together prior to anything happening. And it all just kind of blew me away. And then she was the one who said, hey, you need to get back into the supplement. You need to do this again. And if I can be a catalyst for that to happen, I would like to be that person. And so she helped me get started again. And, there's a lot more to that story that you'll find out later. But that's just kind of an idea of how there's a lot of people that regret doing this. I don't know if you know this, but my defense attorney, he actually committed suicide.
I didn't know that.
2 years after my plea.
What an adventure. Now, that's an easy way to say it. I don't want to venture to minimize or make it seem like it was, just fun or go through. True ability of survival, like your the cop that you spoke to was in jail on life, saying the adaptability that you have. But for me,
that was an LWAP.
As an LWAP, but he was a cop, correct? So
no, he was a prisoner that said that.
Okay.
Yeah, the cop said, I shouldn't be here. I've seen your story. I've read everything. You were set up, dude. You should not be here.
Mm. It's,
But it was an LWAP that said, "You're so adaptable. I've never seen anybody adapt like you have," knowing, the differences in where I came from to where I was.
and then all that resilience, the time to study, the books that you wrote, and now let's get to where you are today, because you're not far down the road from me. You're in Ventura with your whole new
Yeah,
facility.
yeah.
And before we started this conversation, you were showing me some new products that you've now created. You formulate for so many people. You're known again, as you were before, as a top level formulator for health, for wellness. Tell us some of the stuff that you've got going on now, because people would have gone through this whole incredible story of real life. But I know they're also listening in because they want to find solutions for them. Tell me what you're doing.
So there's no silver bullet. There's no one thing that I can say is the thing that I make that is the answer to people's illnesses. It's all about self-regulation. And you know as well as I do, when you're down, there's ways that you can improve your life and your health without spending any money. I always like to talk about those things first, Dan, because at the end of the day, ultimately I'm just here to try to help people. If you don't understand how to take a product, throw it in the trash. If you don't know why you're taking that product and it's not helping you, and if there's bad effects that are causing just as much damage as the good you're getting out of it, really question why you're doing it. And then also ask yourself, is there something else I can do that's better? And try to understand that. One of the things you can do that's free is proper hydration. That's 1 ounce of water per 2 pounds of body weight. You're not spending money, but just by doing that, you're raising the pH of the organs in your body. So diseases live in acids. They don't live in alkalinity. They die. Their respiratory systems die. Water is a 7 in the pH scale. Acids are 0 to 7. Alkalinity is 7 to 14. Just the biggest organ in our body, which is our skin, its optimum pH is a 5.5. So we should be somewhere in the 5.5 range in everything that we consume, closer to 7 as we can get. We're consuming a ton of acids. Just that in itself will improve the environment for which you live. It's like the dead fish in the fish bowl. You take the fish out of the fish bowl. If you're in Western medicine, you diagnose it, you find out, you cut it open, you look and see what the problems are, and you try to fix it. If you're in Dino's world, you change the water. Change the environment for which the fish lives. Start there. If you can just start there, I can really help you, because now you're listening to your body, you're self-regulating you. That's the key to natural health. So if we can start on that premise that you've decided you want to actually activate your own self-awareness and your self-help, now we're talking, okay? I can help you exponentially. Okay, so lifestyle, proper sleep, these things don't cost money, but they're critical. Proper diet, a good balanced diet, whether it be an 80-20 protein to carb diet or a 50-50, whatever's good for you is good for you. Great. Doesn't have to be on the extreme. We're not all Brian Johnson. We don't, and we can't. We're not all in that position to where we can spend that kind of money and do that for ourselves. So these simple things that are free. Okay. So now that I've said that, I'm making a lot of nutraceuticals for mitochondria repair, for repairing cells. I'm making anti-inflammatories with peptides. I'm doing a lot of peptides, a lot of nutraceuticals, a lot of botanicals. I make liquids. I'm doing skincare that's really, really clean. So what are the top items? Items for IBS, for constipation, get the bowel moving, whether it be diarrhea or constipation, which are both the same. Getting rid of parasites, which is a major deal. All of my products are target specific. So blood pressure. You want a natural blood pressure? I have one that will drop your blood pressure normal in 10 minutes every time. Inflammation with BBC 157 and TB 500. I make these products. Wound healing products with like arnica with BBC and copper peptide. I make a copper peptide cream, 4% copper peptide cream that I have a hockey player that say I can put my skates on again. My feet aren't sore. I just put the cream on. Dancers who say I can put my dancing shoes back on after dancing when normally I can't put them back on because my feet are so swollen and so sore. Weight loss, big deal. I make a fiber weight loss that's fantastic. And, weight loss is all about, trying to get rid of the good fats, or the bad fats. You got to figure out a way to metabolize to get rid of those bad fats. And there's mechanisms to do that, which I have programs to do that. It's all about the protocols. So I have disease state matrix for all of these products and which ones to take for whatever it is condition you have. And this is all anecdotal from 30 years of experience in this industry and knowing what to do. And then things are getting better. Peptides are a big deal. Bioregulators are a big deal. You can listen to Ken Holdorf, for instance. The guy is brilliant on peptides. And, there's people out there that are doing fabulous things. And I'm really, really happy to be associated with these people. You can go to nutriments.store, nutriments, NUTRIMENTS.store. I hope you don't mind the plug. And you can see all of my products on there. We make them all in the factory in Ventura. Like I said, we're GMP certified. It's important to make sure that you have a GMP certification from the manufacturer of the products that you're taking, because the requirements for the quality and testing and incoming testing and outgoing testing and potency testing are all GMP requirements. And if you're not doing those, then you're failing your GMP and you will not get your certification. So knowing that people are GMP'd is very, very important when you're consuming product. But I think the most important thing, the way they can help, is the amount you take, when you take it, and making sure that those ingredients that are in there are at the levels that they're supposed to be. And I make sure I do those three things well. So all of my products are target specific. So I have natural health from A to Z, A being alkalinity, Z being zombie cell. So everywhere in between, if you're talking about cardio, it's CH for cardio health. If you're talking about blood pressure, it's BP for blood pressure. If you're talking about diabetes, it's D for diabetes. Take 2 of those, your blood sugar will go down in 5 minutes. Now, I should say the FDA disclaimer when I'm talking about these disease states. These are not FDA approved products. They are not FDA tested. I'm not treating, curing, diagnosing diseases. This is anecdotal, and I sell only to doctors. And I sell a lot of product to doctors, so obviously the products work. But Candida, if you want an antifungal, it's C. C-Guard is a very powerful antifungal. DX for detox pulls out the heavy metals and microplasts from your body. It coagulates the microplasts. You'll actually see them in your stool when you take DX. And if you have any sort of constipation, B for bowel and parasite, will move your bowel. You take 3 or 4 before bed and you're regular every day. And that's my biggest selling item. I have an FDA registered license. I am an FDA registered facility, and I'm GMP'd by NSF, which is the highest GMP certification you get in the US. So I'm really proud of it, Dan, and thank you for bringing that up. I'm also an advocate of trying to make the environment better. So my 75cc bottles and my 175cc bottles, my 8-ounce cylinder bottles are made with an additive. And the additive is called ROS. And when you add ROS to the plastic, it degrades in a landfill in 5 years with no microplasts and no methane gas left over. I'm making trash liners. I'm making to-go items. I'm making more and more items out of reusable plastics, single-use plastics, with this additive in it. And I am the only guy doing that, actually making product with the additive in it and selling it. And there's no upcharge for it. So the trash liners are starting to pick up, but this should be in every airline, should be in every stadium, should be in every grocery store, should be in every B2B. If you care about the environment, it's not just a virtue signal where you like talking about it, but you don't actually do anything about it. Then keep buying trash bags that are going to last 900 years in the landfill. If you really do care, call Dino, call the Planet One company and inquire about these products that we're making that have the additive in it that degrade in 5 years. Now, you started out this by saying that I was some fabulous guy. I'm not a fabulous guy. This product was made by nanoscientists in Australia. I just happened to got the exclusive in North America with 2 partners to sell this for single-use plastics in North America. And I'm very, very dedicated to it. And I will continue to make more and more items with the additive in it. So that I'm doing that little bit of difference, and every little bit of difference I can make, that's my mission, and that's my mission for the rest of my life.
So let me ask you this. You say you only sell to doctors. This is your product right now, your formulations. How does somebody then, do they have to go to their doctor to ask them to prescribe it for them from you? Or is there a place they can go and actually get it themselves?
No, they can go on nutriments.store and order.
Okay, so it's still there. And that
Yeah.
will also include the bags, and everything to do with the environment.
The bags are at theplanet1company.com. So it's the Planet One Company is the parent company, and that's the company that sells all the packaging.
Okay.
Nutriments is the brand. So if you want to buy methylene blue, and this is a great methylene blue product, it's got C60 in it, carbon. So if you're interested in methylene blue, this is the product for you. And that's in the Nutriments brand, and you can buy that at nutriments.store. Where if you want the packaging, you go to Planet One Packaging, Planet One Company, where the Planet One packaging is. So we supply Chumash Casino is very, very, very active in environmental issues. They have a fabulous guy there who's doing a lot for the environment, and they're buying all of our liners. They want their cups with the additive in it. They want their straws with the additive, and we're building all of this inventory for them. And we have all of the inventory here for other customers. We have a coffee franchise that's going to be buying all of our degradable single-use plastics. They're just starting out, but I think they're going to be big. Excuse me. But we can start with trash liners. We can move to straws. We can move to pet cups. Printed pet cups. These are cups I print for Fountain Blue, actually. We can make cutlery. We can make all the microwavable trays. Every single-use plastic out there can have the additive in it and make a huge difference. And besides the fact that, Elon, if you're listening to me right now, which I hope you are, we can take all the unwanted plastics in the world that are degrading the earth, and we can turn them into inert material with no microplast and no methane gas within 5 years in a landfill. All we have to do is collect all these unwanted plastics and convert them with an additive in it, bury it in the ground, and we will get rid of the whole plastic problem in the world. If you really want to make a difference, if you really, there's guys out there that can. They have the fortitude. They have the possibilities. I have the vehicle. I have the know-how. I have the desire. Do they?
I think it all comes down to, again, if we wait for somebody at the level of Elon to come in and make the difference, we've missed the opportunity, because it can start one person at a time as well. And if you take 1 million people that are willing to make that decision to support, by the time Elon gets involved, or someone of a high enough level magnitude, the change has already happened. It's already started. They're now jumping on your, not your, I'm talking about the consumer. They're jumping on your train that left the station a long time ago, and now they're trying to catch up. So I urge people as well, look into it, what you can do so we don't have to wait.
Well, I love that, Dan, and you're all about that. And I'm so proud to be on your show and be associated with you because you are a stellar dude, man.
Thank
I just, if nobody's read Dan's bio, you've got to learn more about Dan. And we all should strive to be more like Dan.
you.
And I'm really, really humbled by you and everything that you've done in your life. And we need to talk more about that.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I look very much forward to coming down to Ventura and, seeing what you're doing, learning from the super brains that you've put together. But like you said, you retain the information. And there's very few people that can be given information of multiple different sources and be able to bring them together themselves. And that's why it's so fascinating. I would love to get you back on the show, maybe in about 6 months' time, and really go into a deep dive of the products, what they do, and the effects that they're having, because there's so many people out there that need help. And if anybody read my book, they'll already know Born SuperHuman. It's the 7 pillars of natural health, which is oxygen, hydration, sleep, nutrition, exercise, mindset, and challenges. They're all free. It's just
Exactly.
we know it. We just don't commit to it because the magic we seek is in the work we avoid. We don't want to do it. We prefer to take a pill. But I put it this way: if you can put your body in the best position to absorb the nutrients that would take it to another level, then you're already done the work. Now it's just continued progress, anti-aging, more energy and strength, living life, loving life. But if you want something to cure the contamination and toxicity in your body because you're not willing to do it, you're fighting an uphill battle because the body has that filtration system made to work for you. We've just swamped it. We've swarmed it. It's now in survival mode and not in thrival mode. So I'm really excited, Dino, to come and see what you've done, what you're creating. I know your mind and brain will never stop. You're always looking for the best improvements to get the best results, which is why I'd love in 6 months' time to get you back on and say, what has changed in 6 months? Because I know that can be dramatic and dynamic.
Yeah, no, I'll come on anytime you would like to have me because it's an honor for me to be here. So anytime you want, Dan, and anytime you want to come out and visit, please, please, please do. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So what supplements do you take and what would you like to accomplish with your natural health? And maybe I can help you and everybody can hear, you know, what maybe they might have the same issue.
Yeah, so I'm very much into creatine.
Okay.
Looking because we know that creatine in the past was about muscles. Now we know the impact it has on the brain as well. I do take carbon C60. I'm a huge fan of carbon C60. I am very much into peptides, which I've only recently started, amino acids, because I'm very much into the athletic performance side of things. I do love hydrogen water. I believe hydrogen has a very positive effect on me for anti-inflammatory, but again, I'm very natural. I do drink clean water, hydrogen most of the time. I do take my morning supplements, which could be the creatine, and then I have some products that I've been taking testing that I've been very, very happy with. But I'm about exercise, I'm about sleep, I'm about eating natural, getting rid of sugars, not having those sugar intakes. It's incredible. I went from a 21.2% body fat to an 8.2% body fat in 3 months just by cleaning up my diet. I was
Yeah.
doing everything else was exactly the same.
And drink and the proper hydration.
Yeah. Oh, the hydration. I have that as my number two most important pillar, but it's the easiest one for people to adjust. My number one is oxygen, because
Mhm.
without oxygen, or we're breathing in bad air, it's going to take you down.
Right.
But hydration for me, the first one I teach, Dino, is mindset. That's my pillar number 6 is the first one. Because if you have the right mindset, you'll stick to the life changes you want to do. If you have the wrong mindset, it's going to be in and out. And that's why we wishy-washy with weight loss, with exercise, with sleep, all the different things. But for me, the number one that I teach is hydration because it's the easiest one to adapt.
Excellent. So I want to, after what you said, there's two things I want to show you, and these would be good for you. So this is an arnica spray. It's an oral spray. It's got BBC 157, KPV, TB4, and copper peptide. And this is an oral spray, so you're getting absorption of these key peptides. It's really great for any oral issues, whether it be inflammation of the gums, if you want to heal from, say, tonsil removal or from surgery. This will prepare you. It will also recover faster, stops bleeding of the gums, is a powerful anti-inflammatory. So you know all about BBC 157, probably KPV. You guys can look these up, TB4, TB500, TB4, copper peptide, and then arnica is great for bruising, swelling, any sort of pain, light pain. We're not talking.
Let me ask you this, because obviously you spray it into your mouth. Obviously, some of it's getting under your tongue. It's being absorbed into your system. Does it help other areas as well? I know it's focusing on the spray within the mouth, but as you absorb it, does that affect other parts of the body?
Oh, of course, it's going to go cellular.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to go sublingual. It's going to go cellular. Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of people that say that BBC or KPV, the longer strain peptides, don't get through the gut barrier. I don't really believe that. It's like saying that pharmaceutical drugs don't get through the drug barrier. I mean, I'm just sorry, but I think they do, and because I see tremendous results. So it would be like saying nutrition doesn't get through the blood. Well, we know we're breaking it down. We are absorbing it. But yes, you're getting arguably you're getting more than you would in a capsule. So that's why I brought this up. So these are the key peptides for me. The other peptide that's key for me is MOTC. And then of course, you would be really good. MOTC is awesome. I think this is my key peptide, and you can look at MOTC and see, but that to me, overall general peptide, anti-inflammatory, immune system, gut health, circulation, is dynamite. And then, of course, methylene blue is C60 because you said you're taking carbon 60. So this has carbon 60 in it with methylene blue. So taking this with the arnica spray, that C60 is going to actually make this absorb even more because that's what it does.
Anyone listening, tell them what the effect would be taking the methylene blue with the C60 and then also taking the peptides as well, the BBCs.
So
Tell me.
methylene blue is going to give you clarity and energy. I mean, it's like the windshield wiper on your car when it's a heavy rain, and your windshield wiper is clear. That's what happens when you take methylene blue for your brain. It literally cleans up, gets rid of all the garbage. It's not like Adderall, right? If you want to do that, then you need to do AD. I have an AD product, which also has peptides and bioregulators in it. And it works. It's a 4-hour box, not an 8-hour box like Adderall. It works the same thing where you're staying focused because you have ADHD, attention deficit. This isn't for attention deficit. This is to take what you're already lit and make it even better.
Sure.
Like, much more concise. You're really, really focused. So what carbon C60 does, is it actually increases the absorption of the nutrients you take, of any of the nutrients you take. So it's even going to highlight that and make it even more, not intense, because intense is the wrong word. That's like you would be too
sure,
activated, right? It's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. The impact of what you're taking is better absorption, which means you're also not wasting as much money or having to overdose to try and get the effect that you should be able to get as well.
exactly. So it's just going to make them work better.
Um,
So when you're
oh,
taking the peptides, of course, in the sublingual form, but in the gut, you're getting the impact of this,
hmm.
whether you're taking it in a pill form or you're taking it in a liquid form. But some people just like liquids better. So this would be a good one for you.
What about the methylene blue for somebody, for example, who's suffering from the initial start of Alzheimer's or dementia, which we know obviously is a cognitive. I know it's different than brain fog, but what would the impact be for them to try?
Okay, so methylene blue is really to increase your mental alertness and increase your mental clarity. So if you're going to go into a show, or you're going to go into a lecture, you're going to go into a test, or you just want to go into a meeting, you want to be sharp. That's what it's going to do for you. As far as Alzheimer's, dyslexia, dementia, onset dementia, then you want to do cerebral lysin peptide.
Hmm.
Cerebral lysin is the brain peptide. And so that would be CE in my line of products. It's called CE, cerebral pep. So CE has the synthetic version. So if you know about, I mean, you know about peptides. So peptides are the protein stacks, the amino acid stacks in each of our organs, and they're identified in each of our organs. And there's a certain amino stack and it's a messenger. And so each one of our organs has that messengers, that string of amino acids. It's called a peptide. Our brain peptide is cerebral lysin. And that's a synthetic name for that. There's also the natural version of it that comes from animal brain that they literally pull out that amino acid peptide that's called NPEP12. That's the natural version, where cerebral lysin is the synthetic version.
Sure.
I have both of them in this product because I believe it activates better when you have both of them. And then I put NADH in it, which activates it even more in blood to a cellular level, on a systemic cellular level. I
Hmm.
had a doctor, 72 years old, in Chicago. He called me up, actually sent me an email, and I have it. And he said he's had dyslexia for 72 years. He would stop reading at P's, B's, and T's. Anytime that hit, he would stop and he'd have to refocus and he could start reading again. He said, Dino, what is in this product? I've been taking it for a month and my dyslexia is gone. I no longer have a problem reading. I'm not stopping anymore. I said, well, it's the powerful peptide from the brain. And so what happens is these peptides get depleted, or we don't have them fully in our system in the first place.
Sure.
So by putting them there or replacing them there as we've lost them, because we're not getting them, right? Unless we're eating pig brain every day, which you're not doing, right? So obviously you're not getting them. You have to get them from somewhere. They're in this pill. So I have a guy who had a stroke, is a father of one of my employees. His left side was numb, couldn't speak, obviously couldn't drive. And he's been on CE for about 8 months. And about 2 months ago, so he'd been on it for six, he walked in my office and he said, Hi, Dino. Now, he's been speaking through a phone since he had his stroke.
Hmm.
Hi, Dino. I looked at him, I go, I was speechless. He goes, I drove here. He's like, I drove. And I gave him a hug. We're both crying, both have big smiles on our face. Peptides do amazing work, especially if they're done right. And there's not that many companies out there that are doing it right.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Unfortunately, we know that when people see an opportunity to make money, they will bypass the necessary steps to follow the same path that got the results. I've seen it so many times. You look at the white papers, they'll use the white papers behind their product, but their product isn't created using the same processes with the white paper. And people are buying in, it's billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry that people are buying into. They get the placebo effect for the first 2, 3 weeks, and then
Yeah.
there's not the change. Let me ask you one last question because we
Sure. Can I just make one point?
sure.
So you know how you were saying methylene blue, would it work for, dementia or onset dementia or Alzheimer's or dyslexia? And there's a lot of people that would take this thinking that that would work because it says mental clarity. And then they're not going to get the results they want. And they're going, oh, well, that didn't work. The reason it didn't work is they were taking the wrong product.
Right.
It's very important. Like I started this whole thing out by saying, understand what you're taking before you take it and know why you're taking it, how many you're taking, when you're going to take it, when's the best time to take it, what you're taking it for. Otherwise, don't spend the money. Don't buy anything from me because I don't want your money unless you're going to do it right and understand why you're doing it. It's so important. So I just wanted to touch it on that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're happy to help here at Nutriments.store. We're happy to help.
So Nutriments, NUTRIMENTS.store, and people can go and research and find out what would be best for them. Don't buy a product, buy the solution. And that's
Correct?
them doing their research. Last one, I
Yes.
deal a lot with the aging community where muscle decline has a direct relationship with longevity, being able
Yeah.
to maintain that. I'm a big believer in sunlight, just so you know, with health, cellular health, testosterone, those type of things. What should people be doing to help sustain a longer life of muscle strength, muscle mass, and not the decline to help them stay? I'm not a believer that muscles make you move more. I'm a big believer that your movement is supported by muscles. So, what would you suggest for anyone looking to gain muscle or sustain or retain muscle?
Okay. So first of all, inflammation is a big deal, right? So you want to you want to keep yourself de-inflamed. The second thing is you want to take pure protein when you're doing proteins. So a lot of people are taking whey or they're taking WPC or WPI, and your body's having to break that down. So I sell a pure protein. You want to take this 30 minutes before your workout. So you want to make sure you're taking your protein before your workout. So, and make sure you're de-inflamed, and, anti-inflammatory peptides are the best way to go. BBC with KPV. And
Mm.
so anti-inflammatory. CJC 1295 is the muscle building peptide. CJC 1295 is your muscle building peptide. So you want to take that with your tea before you do your workout. I have it in my pre-workout powder. But to build, and so the pre-workout powders, it's cherry flavored, it's got creatine in it, it's loaded with muscle building ingredients. So it's also very important to keep your hormones doing the right thing. So PRC HGH, this will help your pituitary secrete its own HGH. And human growth hormone is really, really important. You'll lose body fat, you'll firm up, you'll get more lean muscle, you'll get more stamina, more endurance by taking this product. If you take it 30 minutes before your workout with your protein and then your protein builder. Okay? So that right there is your regimen 30 minutes before your workout. But you want to make sure that you're not producing, as you get older and you get our age, we don't want to produce bad testosterone. So the way to do that, it's called DHT. You have to block that bad testosterone, because the key to this whole thing is that you're not producing bad testosterone, because you're not going to build muscle. You're going to lose hair, all that, right? So take your borage oil combo. This will block the production of DHT. It's very, very important. Now all your testosterone is going to all the right places. You're not producing bad testosterone. So you take these in combination, you will not believe. The other thing about lean muscle and building muscle is to make sure that you don't have bad fats. You don't want to have a storage of bad fats because you're never going to lean up if you have bad fat. This oil also has omega-9s in it. So I was with Dr. Brodsky, and Dr. Brodsky died, bless his soul. He's a wonderful, wonderful doctor. And he was the one that taught me that a lot of people take omega-3, they take omega-6, but they're not taking omega-9s because we're not getting them in our diet. It's from EPO, evening primrose oil, borage oil, black currant seed oil, saffron oil. These are 9s. And think about where you would get those in a diet. They don't exist. Without the 9, so what happens is you're metabolizing your bad fats are in your system. Well, they're just roaming around in cellular level, but there's nothing to grab onto them to convert them into energy unless you have an omega-9. The omega-9 coats those bad fat cells, so as you're metabolizing, they burn and convert into energy. The key to all of it is good fat, actually. Get your hormones in balance, start by secreting proper HGH, get the proper amount of protein, pure protein, hit it with a peptide that's a muscle-building peptide. There's your answer. Now, you can use creatine if you want to get stronger, have more endurance. You want to keep lifting. You're at 350 in a bench. You want to get up to 360. Now you're pre-workout. You want to do that 30 minutes before. It's not necessary to do this if you're not like really into it. Now you like taking creatine for the brain, so you would want to do it separate from something like this.
Sure.
The other thing is if you want to build and get bigger, and I learned this from Romanowski way back in the early 2000s when I was making his protein powder, is you do this right before you work out, take your proteins, your creatines, all your power stuff. But while you're still sweating, flood your body with carbs.
Right.
So what happens is you're sweating, you're metabolizing, your energy is up, you're still metabolizing. If you don't flood your body with carbs, the metabolism's eating all the muscle you just built up to gain. You have to give your body something else to burn. So while you're still sweating and breathing hard, you're sucking down your carbs. That you'll get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you finally have to stop because you're looking like a, Mr. Universe.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I was just up at the Mr. Olympia competition for the finals up there, and there's some big guys up there, but we know there's more than just nutrients going into their body.
Yeah. But
No,
even like a boxer, Jordan Panthan is a very close friend of mine. He's a really excellent boxer. I believe he will eventually be the next light heavyweight champion of the world. And he's on my regimen, but he has to stop taking this because he gets too bulky.
yeah, then his weight's up.
His weight's too far up, right? So he has to, so he takes it, gets good muscle buildup, and then he has to stop.
Brilliant. I got 2 questions left. First one,
Yeah.
how big is your desk? Because every time I talk about something, there's another product coming out. I don't know what you've got in front of you, but that's a lot of stuff you've got there all around.
I have a display with all of my products on it right next to my desk. So as I'm talking to people, I can literally grab the product and show you. But I have a full cabinet with all 82 at my fingertips at all times because I have to refer to them, like stability test or I really want to make sure that I'm up to speed on the longevity of the products too.
Yeah, it seems like it's very natural as well. So it'll be safe for most people to take. Obviously, we always say, consult your physician or nutritionist before you add something to your diet if you're on other drugs. But overall, very clean, very healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Again, the only thing that I would say that why you wouldn't want to take any of my products is one, if you're 100% vegan, check the labels because some of them have glandulars in them from animals. So that wouldn't be good for you. Like my lung cleanser, if you have chronic coughs, my lung cleanser, your cough will go away in 2 days. If you're a smoker and you want to clean your lungs, my lung cleanser will clean your lungs in one bottle cycle.
Mhm.
But it has a lung glandular in it from bovine. My adrenal gland formula has adrenal glandular from bovine from Argentina. But if you want to tonify your adrenal, it is the best product to tonify your adrenal. So that's why these products are in there. My migraine product has a placentia powder in it. So it just depends on what you're doing, right? So check the labels for that. That would be the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head where you'd want to scrutinize the product or say you couldn't take it would be because you're a vegan or a vegetarian and you don't want any animal products.
And I know you said your detox program is probably your favorite because of the results that it gets.
Yes,
15 day, if I remember rightly.
correct. It's a 15-day body cleanse. It hits five eliminatory organs and parasites over a 15-day cleanse. A lot of people see the parasites come out. You'll literally see your body being rid of parasites. If you were to do this, it's pretty crazy. If you do this with DX, so, and I recommend everybody do this now because we're being inundated in heavy metals and microplasts. So you want to take your heavy metal microplast detox with your total body cleanse at the same time. It's real easy to take, by the way. So you're going to take the bowel cleanser B Guard. You take that before bed, and you take 3 to 4 before bed, and then you'll wake up in the morning and have a larger than regular bowel movement. Then you're going to take two of the liver cleanser, two of the blood and lymphatic cleanser, and two of the urinary tract cleanser morning and night. And you're going to do that for 15 days. You will not believe how different you feel. I've had people lose 16, 17 pounds just going on this detox for 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Just water weight, old food stuff coming out. And then, of course, if you stay on if you take the detox with it, now you're getting rid of the microplasm. So this is really easy to take. It's not like you have to go to the bathroom every hour. You have a bowel movement in the morning, and then you're on with your day. People stay on B, and they stay on B for the rest of their life. Now, this is only taken at night. This isn't taken during the day, so that you're processing this food and eliminating in the morning. So you don't take this in the morning, otherwise you're going to end up going to the bathroom throughout the day. You just take this at night, go to the bathroom in the morning, then you take the other ones during the day. And then you
Sure.
also take the other ones at night. So, but I have people that stay on this and take it every day because they have issues going to the bathroom.
Mhm.
And it just makes it easier. I've had people say, well, it's got Cascara sagrada in it. And Cascara sagrada is addictive. My answer is, are you addicted to constipation?
Mm. Yeah, the amount of waste that we carry around in us, and that's keeping toxicity inside our body and not getting out, is part of the reason where we create sickness as well. Certainly that feeling of unhealthiness, bloating, all the other stuff that stops us living happy, really, because unless we feel great, we can't move great and we can't do great.
That's
Look,
right.
last question.
Can I talk about one more thing with cleansing real fast?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's very important with heavy metals. You know, mercury is in all the fish we eat now. A lot of mercury. We have mercury in the fillings in our mouth, and that secretes out of those fillings into your body. We're also getting a tremendous amount of lead. Potatoes have more lead than Prop 65 protects you from. Carrots, potatoes, beets, sweet potatoes. Any root material that comes out of the ground has a lot of lead in it. There's a lot of lead in soil,
Mm.
much more than you'll get from, you know, from the products that they're like cinnamon, right? Cinnamon's the big no-no now. Where are you going to get cinnamon without lead in it? It's people have been using cinnamon for centuries. All of a sudden now all the cinnamon's off the shelf because they said it had lead in it.
Mm.
Sorry, folks, you're not gonna get the lead out of that cinnamon.
No, brilliant. So much information, so much more to share. Last thing, if you could leave one message to to the world that in 50 years' time was your legacy, what would you want people to know?
That I truly care, and I take it seriously. You know, I'm not faking it. This is not an audition. I'm not in it so that I can, you know, take your money and hide it in a hole somewhere. And, you know, guys like us, you can say what you want, do what you want, but you can't bring us down because we're real and not going to bring me down. And I'm here for those people that want to be successful and want to make a change in their life. And I'm the guy. I'm the guy you want to call.
Sounds great. And certainly you know what it's like to have life, to lose the freedom in life, and come back and maximize every moment of life itself. Dino, thank you so much for being here, being on Born Superhuman. I look forward to visiting with you in person soon and getting you back on the show in 6 months' time. Thanks so much for your
Can I just do a shout out to all those people that have taken care of me, all the people that supported me, you know, from Grace, when you hear this, Amanda, gosh, I mean, the list goes on. But I just want people to know how appreciative I am. All those people have been there for me.
and I look forward to you getting to meet your daughters again in or
Oh
out of
gosh.
Texas. That will be the completion of the circle to the next step in life.
Hey, maybe in 6 months we'll be having that conversation.
Invite them to be on the show with you.
Great.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Dan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.